teachers. Another contributor said, when I became the one in my group of friends who always make sure everybody goes to the bathroom before we go out. I knew I became my mom when I spit on a napkin and wiped my kid's face with it. I knew I was becoming my mom when I lectured my own friends on their way to a party about staying together, not accepting drinks from strangers, and not getting into trouble with cops. Another person contributed saying, I became my mom when my kids were jumping around and I said, you guys are not going to be satisfied until one of you pokes an eye out. And finally, somebody said, I realized I was turning into my mother when my 6-year-old daughter was begging to have a slumber party, and I told her no. When she asked me why not, the only reason I could think of was because I said so. So some of the ways these women share the moment that they realize they were turning into their mom. SpaceX is going to try launching another rocket today. This one is carrying a GPS satellite. Here's Fox's Evan Brown from Broward County, Florida.
SpaceX, the company owned by Elon Musk, is planning to launch one of its Falcon 9 rockets from the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station today. This rocket is on a contract for the U.S. Space Force and will be delivering a new GPS satellite to orbit. Today's launch is the 11th this year for SpaceX, between its own launches, its military contracts, and its work for NASA. SpaceX today is planning to recover the Falcon 9 rocket and reuse it in the future. In Broward County, Florida, Evan Brown, Fox News.
Apparently a Lucille Ball biopic bouncing around Hollywood since 2017 is about to move forward. The project is able to do so thanks to a tax credit in the state of California, apparently. And because of the announcement, we know that Kate Blanchett is attached to the film somehow. Amazing Studios has had their hands on the movie, based on an Aaron Sorkin script since 2017. 8 o'clock, good morning.
Rhode Island's news, traffic, and weather station. News Radio 920 and 104.7 FM. WHJJ, Providence, an iHeart radio station.
And at 8 o'clock, the first stop's the traffic center, and here's John Hamlin.
Our busiest traffic here for Pawtucket 95 northbound, getting up from Lonsdale Avenue through the S-curves and towards the state line. Okay after that point, up towards Newport Avenue and South Attleboro. 610 connectors, quiet, just a little busy getting on to 95, a little cramped on 95 by the state offices. With your southern New England traffic, I'm John.
Yes, John, here's the forecast now. And it's Storm Team 10 meteorologist Christina Ernie's.
Today is a mostly cloudy day with highs climbing into the upper 70s. An isolated shower is possible before noon, then scattered showers and thunderstorms pick up through the early to mid-afternoon. Wednesday, a mix of sun and clouds with temperatures in the middle 70s and a few isolated storms. I'm Storm Team 10 meteorologist Christina Ernie on News Radio 920 and 104.7 FM.
It's muggy, it's cloudy, and it's 66 degrees. At 8:01, Kristen Marks is brought to us by the Armstrong Advisory Group. If you need some help with your financial strategy, call Barry Armstrong and set up a free consultation at his office in Cranston. 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001.
Ron, here are the stories we're working on today. Phase 3 of Rhode Island's reopening starts today, but the increased number of group sizes is revised because of increased coronavirus activity elsewhere in the country. Private social gatherings are now limited to 25 people indoors and 50 people outdoors. Outdoor public events are capped at 250 people when previously there was not to be any cap. Governor Raimondo says she's asking everyone to continue wearing masks and to maintain social distancing.
And I promise you this. If you stop following the rules, we'll have to shut down the economy again because we're going to be like many of these other states going right back up the curve. It's inevitable.
Anyone who comes to the Ocean State from another state with a positivity rate of 5% or greater must quarantine for 14 days. This unless they can produce a negative COVID-19 test from the previous 3 days. Rhode Island residents returning from such states can avoid quarantine if they test negative here. Raimondo said enforcement would heavily rely on the honor system. 3 of the nation's coronavirus hotspots are beginning to shut down again.
More than 1,000 health professionals in Arizona have signed a letter for another stay-at-home order. The governor didn't issue one on Monday, but is closing bars, gyms, movie theaters, and water parks. Bars are also closed in Texas, where at least 4 counties are asking for permission to issue their own lockdown. Florida has taken action on bars as well, even closing some beaches for the July 4th weekend. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer is deeply concerned about reports that Moscow has put bounties on the heads of U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan.
If Russian intelligence is conducting a shadow campaign to sponsor the murder of American troops, there must be swift, strong, and unmistakable consequences for Putin and his cronies.
White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany insisted that the reports are based on unverified intelligence. Schumer said President Trump has not been acting like he wants to get to the bottom of it, adding something doesn't smell right here. The Supreme Court won't be hearing a challenge to the Trump administration's border wall. The case dealt with environmental requirements waived by the Department of Homeland Security to speed up construction. Environmental groups argued that was outside the agency's authority, but a previous decision that went against them will now stay in place. More arrests to report from the rioting at Providence earlier this month. Eyewitness News reports 2 members of a Warwick group that posts rap videos online, Joshua Martinson and William Palazzo, were arrested by Providence police for inciting looting at the mall. Rhode Island State Police also arrested 3 people for allegedly damaging a dozen state vehicles in the DCYF parking lot. Around 250 companies have now signed on to an advertising boycott against Facebook. Ford, Pepsi, Adidas, and Denny's are among those joining the Stop Hate for Profit campaign. This after civil rights groups have accused the social media giant of doing little to stop hate speech and misinformation. News Radio 920 and 104.7 FM Sports. With training camps moving ahead as scheduled, the NFL Players Association is telling agents to discuss coronavirus risk factors with their clients. ESPN obtained a letter sent to agents that directs them to have players review information from the CDC with their personal physician by mid-July. For more news, listen to the Daily Dive. The big news stories explained, not shouted, every day on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Now, more Rhode Island's news, traffic, and weather with Ron St. Pierre on News Radio 920 and 104.7 FM.
Rhode Island's news, traffic, and weather with Ron St. Pierre on News Radio 920 and 104.7 FM.
All right, thanks very much, Tristan. Good morning. This is the final day of the month of June. We'll put a bow on this baby. It's June the 30th. It's Tuesday. It's now 8:05. European Union representatives are going to meet to decide who's going to be allowed to travel to the EU. And the big question is, with everything that's going on with these numbers, the spikes in COVID-19, is the U.S. going to make the cut? Joining us now is Bill Zimper from our 24/7 network. Morning, Bill.
Good morning, Ron. Yeah, the representatives of the 27 European Union countries have been meeting for the last 2 days in Brussels to come up with this list of countries from which they will allow travel to the European Union. And as a matter of fact, just a short time ago, they did come up with this list. It includes 15 countries, and let's put it this way. If you wanted to travel from, let's say, Uruguay to the European Union, you're good to go. You want to travel from Rwanda to the European Union, yeah, you're good. From the United States, not so much. We are not on this list. The European Union says that this infection rate in the United States is just too high, and the United States is not included in this list of approved travel. Interestingly enough, one country that is included in the list, China. This is based, however, based on a condition that China reciprocate and allow travel from the European Union into China. But very interesting that China will be allowed, the United States will not be allowed to travel. This will be reviewed every 2 weeks, so there can be additions and subtractions made to this list as time goes on, Ron. And I should also point out that individual European countries have the option of changing things. For instance, France could say, oh, we are going to let flights in from the United States, although we have no indication that any countries will do that. Interesting developments today.
Absolutely. Okay, Bill, thank you for that. Bill Zimper from our 24/7 network. Have a good day, Bill. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
7 minutes after 8 o'clock. I'm not surprised to hear that, quite frankly, but it's going to be reevaluated every couple of weeks. So, I mean, if you have travel plans to Europe. Wow. 7 minutes after 8 o'clock, new survey finds that Americans trust the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention more than they do President Trump when it comes to getting info about the coronavirus pandemic. Pew Research shows that 64% of people believe the CDC gets the facts right most of the time, while only 30% of respondents feel that President Trump has the facts most of the time. What about the state level? The survey says that 53% trust their state government regarding information about the coronavirus, and we just shared